Brother, today we explore age gaps in relationships, answering the question, do age gaps really matter? We give our 2 cents and determine what age gaps we deem reasonable. And things, of course, get a little messy as we let some of you know you're not as mature as you think you are. Enjoy. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Chanel.
I have an unhinged question for you.
Oh, God, I'm scared.
Would you date Pedro Pascal?
Currently?
Currently.
No.
Why not?
He's...
Redacted.
Okay, so in all honesty, there's multitude of reasons why I wouldn't date Pedro Pascal current. One, I think he's closer to my father's age than he is to my age.
That's a fact.
That's like, so I'd be dating my dad, and that's not a good thing. Second, he's too famous.
Oh, famous.
I think the issue is if I were to date a celebrity, I would then be opening my entire life to be nitpicked, right? Because Pedro Pascal was considered for sexiest man alive, like on multiple times, right? Okay. Could you imagine? Like, I am not God's strongest soldier. It's the way
you don't want to fight them girls.
No, it's not even fighting them. They would rip me to shreds. They would look at my hair and be like, she thinks that these twists are cute. Do you see her eyes? They're too close together. 4 eyes. Do you see her buck teeth?
Ooh, Cindy, why are you laughing? You gotta love yourself, girl.
I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying.
I was expecting like 1-2 points. You kept going. My insecurities list is quite long.
And they would find it and use it against me. So I can't do that. And then also, I don't know an acting schedule. Pedro Pascal is an actor that I'm sure his funds can continue out for an entire year. But if I'm going to be marrying a celebrity, my thought process is we should have enough money to be comfortable, right?
Oh, yeah.
But for that to happen, he has to work a lot, which means I'm just going to be living by myself. What's the point of marrying somebody if I'm just going to be living by myself? So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yes.
The answer is no, I would not marry Pedro Pascal. And I feel like the number one, or I guess number two, because the list of insecurities kind of trumps. But he's older than me.
Dang, you called him old.
Older than me. I said older than me. Than me.
So I was looking this up the other day because we normally, this is also unhinged, we normally text each other and we go, is this person attractive or not?
Yeah,
and
then we do that a lot.
Just because, after doing our podcast on Chanel's Law.
Standards are everything.
Standings are everything. I just feel like we kind of look at that now because it's entertaining.
Yeah, it is entertaining, especially because a lot of the times in the comments you have a lot of people being like, "Oh my God, daddy," or "Wipe me up."
You're so gorgeous, and we're like, "Oh, what is that,
brother?" Yeah, but I think we also try to look at it in a lens of conventional attractiveness.
Yeah.
I can understand different strokes for different folks because whenever you ask me, I'm never really thinking from the perspective of conventional attractiveness.
Yeah.
I'm only thinking from my own personal perspective.
Exactly.
And I've learned for me, I'm more attracted to a personality than a face. So it's like if I'm looking at something and looking at someone and it's giving airhead or it's giving you're conceited, immediately you drop.
Yep.
You drop.
Yep.
But if it's giving, hey, you seem like you love your mom, I don't know. Then I'd be like, okay, cool. Let me look at you more objectively now because I know that you're not. I was going to curse, but I know that you're not a bad person.
Oh, dang. Cindy, you are one. God damn.
Yeah. So, period. But yeah, I think another weird thing as well when it comes to the TikTok era, social media era, and looking up and looking at these people is you never really know how old they are.
Yeah,
right?
Because we also do that as well. We'll send people and we'll say, what is their age?
Yes. And I think in your 20s, that's a very, I don't know the word, but it's very hard to differentiate between who's in their early 20s to late 20s. And even for like millennials, their early 30s. Everybody looks to be about the same age, especially someone who's taking the time to do skincare or whatever, sunscreen. You're not really aging. We're not aging at the same rate as people in generations before us.
Yep.
So I always find it so weird when I'm scrolling and I do see someone attractive and then I go to their profile page and it says they're like 23.
Yeah.
And I'm
oh
like,
my gosh. I'm like, okay, this man is 32. 18!
not you clowning them. I was trying to be nice.
It'd be like that.
It does. It happens more often than I would like, that you send me a person and I'm guessing they're in their 40s and you tell me they're in their mid 20s.
Yeah.
But regardless, right? It brings the question of, okay, if I see someone and I find them attractive and I like their personality, and then I find out that they're significantly younger than me or significantly older than me, is that enough for me to stop potentially pursuing? I'm not pursuing anything. I'm sitting on my couch scrolling, but you know what I mean? If this was real life, hypothetically. And personally for me, I don't know for you, the answer for older, no. It depends on how many years older, but older I feel like is fair game. Younger, it's a yes. Like with the person who was 23, I was this close to just blocking them and moving on. Don't show up on my feed anymore.
Yeah, I think I have to be inclined to agree because I'm like, I feel like your frontal lobe has to be fully developed and cooked. And it doesn't matter if you are 18 and you look 72. If that frontal lobe ain't cooked to 25.
Yeah, honestly, and for some, I feel like older sometimes because I think not only does your frontal lobe need to be fully cooked, but I also think the environment that you it needs to be like not perfect, but it needs to be an environment where if you're 25 and you're still living with your parents, you don't really pay any of your bills, you don't need to have a job. Like
you see, and the phenomenon that typically those people will go for younger people because they're on the same wavelength.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And I think that's also the reason why I'd be more inclined to go for someone older, because I've been doing this living by myself, paying for myself thing for a minute. So I don't think I could be with somebody who doesn't understand what that means.
Or what that is. Yeah.
And what that is. So definitely more inclined for older. The people on TikTok are too young. They need to start wearing sunscreen.
Oh my
moisturizing.
God. Please wear sunscreen. Oh my God. The Crypt Keeper.
Right. Oh. But I think social media and then I think celebrities as well just kind of perpetuate the idea that age gaps are okay. The couple that I'm thinking of, Chris Evans got married recently.
No.
Yeah, Chris Evans got married within the last 2 years. I think he's either in his late 30s, early to mid 40s.
Okay.
And his wife, when they got married, was 26. Her frontal lobe just finished cooking. It's still hot. And this man is in his late 30s, early 40s. But that's seen as okay.
I would do that.
No, I personally wouldn't do that. But again, that's what we see.
Yeah.
And so you get conversations like I was talking to a friend and she was mentioning to me, like, this is how our initial conversation started, where I called you and I was like, my friend who was 22 years old looked me right in the eyes and said, I think I could date someone your age. And I said,
hell no.
I said, whoa.
Relax.
And she was like, but I'm mature. I'm so mature.
Oh, all the 22-year-olds in the world, including us at that age, are so mature.
But hey, I have to give it to her because, again, this is the oldest she's ever been. Right? Yes. So in comparatively.
Because right now somebody asked me, I'm 28. I'm so mature.
Right, exactly. So if that's the oldest you've ever been, you think that's the most mature you're ever going to get. Yeah. And then you live more life. So I'm not going to hold it against her. So I said to her, sure, you can think that you're mature and you are able to date somebody who is my age. My concern is, why do you think someone my age would want to date you?
Ooh.
Right? And she goes, what do you mean? And it kind of got to the point of what you were saying where like the frontal lobe is fully cooked. But I was explaining, I've just lived so much more life in those extra years than what you have. Because your 20s, so much happens in your 20s.
So much.
5 years in your 20s is not like 5 years in your 40s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much happens in your 20s that I'm like, the life experiences that I've had makes me feel as though I cannot date somebody who's more than 2 to 3 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
And even with me coming out of grad school, I feel like I couldn't date someone who's 2 years younger than me that's still in grad school. Because that's a completely different mindset than what I'm in right now.
Yeah.
You know, so situation and your environment matters. But regardless of that, dating younger in your 20s is so tricky.
Woo. Tricky. This beat do rock. Welcome to our karaoke session.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like, because, you know, even with the gap that you were saying with Chris Evans, where it's like, okay, we're dealing with like 10 plus years of a gap there. I feel like a lot of that depends on the age of the youngest person. Luckily, her frontal lobe, 25, hopefully developed. That's good, but I also feel like there's another aspect to it, not just from like the maturing angle. There's also like, do you have a strong sense in your life? Like, do you know who you are as a person? Do you know what you want to do with your life? Like, are you in the right career? Whatever. Because I feel like if you start dating someone who's older than you guys are two ships passing in the night. They're going to take your ship and bring it along with theirs.
Right.
And so you might end up in a whole life that you didn't even want in the first place, but you just didn't know. So you just went along with it.
Right. I think it's also, it comes with the fact that they've lived more life. So your immediate assumption is someone, or in society, we've been taught that the people who are older than us know more than us because they've lived longer lives. So if you're getting into a relationship with somebody who has 10 plus years on you, your immediate thought is, well, they've already done this before. They know what's best.
Yep.
And to them, they're like, well, I don't want to go back and do all that stuff. I've made my mistakes. I figured out what works for me. I want to go. And that's kind of how your ship kind of goes
just
with their
drag
ship.
you along.
From both perspectives, like, okay, well, you know, respect your elders, I guess. And then also, hey, I've already done that. So let's just not do all those mistakes again. Even though that's how you're going to learn and grow as a person, I think it's just better for us not to make those mistakes and just do what I want to do.
Yeah. So I think once you get older than 30, the guidelines for age gaps get a little more tricky as opposed to when you're like 18 to 30. Because I feel like when you're 18, it's like you better stay within your tiny little window.
Yeah, 18, I feel like the only ages you can really date at 18 is 17. I think 16 is pushing it.
16, you pushing it, girl.
And then 18, the only time I think older is okay is if you're doing like 18 to 20 and it's like you met in school.
Yeah.
Right? I don't believe in the whole college student comes back to
Oh my
hometown,
gosh.
meets girl or meets boy and tries to start dating them.
22 and an 18-year-old.
Right.
Oh,
no.
22.
I said 20.
22.
20. When you get to
And
22,
a
that's too much.
16-year-old. Lord Jesus, help us all.
And the thing is, I remember stuff like that happening in high school.
Ooh.
And people thinking it was okay.
It's not okay. And those, I am perfectly comfortable with saying those situations,
Predatory.
should not happen at all.
Yes, 100%. A 16-year-old should never be with anybody older than 18.
And that's pushing it.
And that's pushing it. And an 18-year-old should not be with anybody, in my opinion, older than 21. And that personally for me is pushing it.
That's pushing it.
That's pushing
An
it.
18 and a 21-year-old?
Yes. My whole thing, if you're in college, stay away from high schoolers.
Oh my God.
Stay away from high schoolers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Stick to your own kind.
Not your own kind. But once you graduate, unless you started dating your person when you were already in high school, leave them alone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, still, I would only feel like it's okay if it's like, hey, I'm 18 and my partner who is 19 is in college.
Yeah, okay, we'll give you a pass.
Yeah.
We're still side-eyeing you.
Right. So I agree. I feel like with 18 to 20, it gets more strict. And then when you hit 20, what would you say? Because we danced around it, but what would you say is your guideline once you're 20?
20.
Because we're only going older. At that point, we've already talked about the teens.
Yeah.
From 20 up to 30, what would be your guideline for like eldest age or youngest age?
Yeah. I feel like that 25 is the split in my head.
For 20?
For 20, the 25 is the split. So I would say like someone 20 can date max like 24.
I feel like that's pushing it.
That's pushing it, girl.
That's pushing
it. But
I feel like for me, I would say 23 is that max. Maybe 22.
Oh, that's because if we're thinking college, yeah.
Because but 24, you graduated college.
Yeah, but I'm
24.
thinking like, there's some people who are still in high school when they're 18 and then they go into college and then they immediately turn 19 and then
They graduate at 23.
Okay.
24 is pushing it.
Let's say 23.
I was like, no matter which way you do the math.
Yeah, 24 is
a
let's
no.
say 23.
Yes.
So if you're 20, the highest you should go up is 23. Yes.
Yeah.
So then if you're 23.
If you're 23, I say the highest you could go up is 27.
Yeah. And that's a big window.
And that's
Enjoy
a
it.
big window.
Enjoy it.
I think it's because by the time you hit 23, you're no longer in school.
Yeah.
It's more of an equal playing field. And I'm speaking from the perspective of people who don't go to grad school.
Yeah.
You're both working in industry. By the time you hit 27, you haven't been fully, you haven't hit your 5 years yet. Mm-hmm. Most people don't really get a promotion in their jobs until they hit their 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to be in similar level of roles.
Yeah.
With the person that you're trying to date is about to be promoted, but you still have maybe 1 to 2 years of overlap where you're the same like level.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's an inherent power dynamic as soon as someone becomes a manager. If your manager is 27 and you're 23, that's a no. But that gets more into work power dynamics that we're not talking about. But I think that's the reason why there's a bigger gap, because within that time frame, you would still be about the same level. It's just that the person who's 27 will have more life experience because they've lived longer, but you would still have at least things in common.
Yep. And
then also kind of going from that whole mindset of 4 years is a good amount of time because there's a possibility you could be in school together.
Yeah. You're in the same high school cohort. There was a possibility you guys went to high school together.
Yeah. So that means you've seen the same trends. You've eaten like the same kind of foods, or you've watched the same shows. So you have things in common. Mm-hmm. So that's why for me, I would say 23 could go at most 27.
Okay. 27.
Whew. Whew. I think a 27 could do a 32 to 33.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're just upping it by 2 years.
Yes.
So again, it's the same thing. By the time you hit 27 to 33, I think this is where you get to the gray area of ages. Because this is where stagnant life can happen. This is where you can make a big move. This is where you get,
yeah,
so many things could be happening at this time that I feel like between 27 to 33, a lot of life can be happening.
Yeah.
That it just doesn't matter. It starts to matter less and less and less as you get older.
Less and less. So then, okay, let's say you're 32. What's happening there?
32? 32, I think it's about the same with the 6 years. I think 37, 38 is the max.
You see?
You're about to say 40, aren't you?
I was about to say 42. I feel like you could
10
go a decade.
years? No.
I think you could go a decade.
No.
It depends, though, on your priorities.
A decade?
I think you could go a decade.
I disagree.
I think you could do a decade.
Why do you think you could do a decade?
Because I think that the difference between 32 and 42 isn't so great. I feel like that distance between like who someone is at 32 and 42 is the same distance as the 27 and a 32. I feel like those have similar vibes.
I don't agree, because I'm thinking about this more personally, right? Because we're closer to 32 than we are to like
it's true
20. So I'm thinking when I hit 32 in the next 4 years, I don't know where I'm going to be, but my assumption is I'm going to be more settled in my life. I think I would have just figured things out, right? I still think I'm still trying to figure things out. I think by 32, I would have just figured things out. Someone who's 42?
Who do you know who's 42?
I don't know anybody. That's a fair point, actually. I don't know anybody. But
we don't know what 42 is like, to be honest.
That's true. It just seems like, I don't know. It just seems like a lot.
I think I'm thinking back to when my parents were younger.
Mm-hmm.
I have younger parents than you.
Yes.
So I remember them in their 40s because I think, how long ago was that? That was like 10 something years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years ago, and they were partying. Girl.
Were they really?
My parents, they be vibing. And they used to be friends with people who were 10 years younger than them. And like a lot of my family friends, they, you know what I mean? Like I've you know, spent a lot of time with people in that range.
Yes.
And it seemed like they got along well. And so that's, I think, where I'm getting the idea that that would be fine. But I think it depends on the type of lifestyle you have.
Right.
You know, because if you're 42, that's definitely more time. And so, like, you could be divorced by 42. You could be divorced by 32, if we're being honest. But you know what I'm trying to say?
And I think maybe, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's the issue that I have. Because this would be your second rodeo. You come into it where there's a possibility that if someone's 42, they could have kids.
They could. And but you could have kids at 32 too.
Right. But I'm talking about Cindy personally. Cindy at 32.
But I'm saying general.
Yes, but
I'm saying
general. I don't care about general right now. We're talking about me. We're talking about me.
I thought we were making the general list.
Yeah, we are making a general list. But I'm trying to explain
you specific.
I'm trying to explain to you where my mindset is coming from. Right? It's related to me.
Let us into that trap right there.
Yes.
Fully cooked.
Fully cooked. It's probably overcooked at this point. It's burnt. But I'm thinking at 32, right? If I'm with someone who's 42 and they have a kid, I don't want to be somebody's mom. So
no way. That's a us problem.
That's an us problem. But then also, it's just the idea that there's so much life that could have already been done. And it's the same thing with the pulling of potentially two ships in the night when you have someone who is older than you and you kind of go into a path. I feel like if somebody was 10 years older than me, already gone through a life of like potentially having a marriage or potentially having a children, I'm going to be sucked into their life. And then my whole life identity is gone.
Yeah, I feel like for me personally, well, I don't know what I'm going to be like at 32, but just assuming. I feel like because you're 32 and because you kind of have like that idea of your life, it's going to be much harder for you to get off course by a 42-year-old.
Right.
Than, of course, you know, Chris Evans' wife. Good luck, girl.
I don't know. I don't know how they're doing it.
That one, mystery to me.
Yeah.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
But yeah, so I think in general, I feel like I'm okay with the 10 years there, just because everybody's different.
True.
And so if it's a scenario where the 42-year-old is divorced, the 32-year-old could be divorced too.
It's true.
And that would be completely normal. Especially if they got married at a young age. Completely
that's
normal.
Fair. That's fair.
So that's why I'm like, it depends on the situation, but I feel like they could be aligned.
Okay.
And that would be, of course, a lot of the ranges we're choosing are pushing it.
Yeah, they're pushing it. So for general, 10 years. For Cindy,
for me,
6 would be the cap.
If I'm 32, yeah, it would be kind of crazy to be like, this person's 42. But again, we don't know a 42-year-old. So
we don't know a 42-year-old.
We don't know a 42-year-old.
If there is a 42-year-old listening and is offended, please know we're just speaking from lack of understanding and knowledge.
Technically, when we're 32, you're going to be 46. So you never had a chance.
True.
Facts.
Okay. So you've been asking me, but now let's switch over to you. If you're at 42,
let me get in the zone. I'm 42
get in the zone,
years old.
Auto zone.
I have lived 42 years of life.
You have.
I have. I think at 42, I feel like you could go up. I feel like you could go into the 50s for sure.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like you can't go to the 60s though. That's crazy. So I would say like 58.
Oh.
Yeah. I feel like you can make it to 58.
I was thinking 55.
55 is fair. We can go with 55.
Okay. And then I feel like from that point, once you hit 50 something, I feel like going 10, 20 years more, it's just whatever floats your goat.
A 55 and a 75-year-old. I see a twitch. She started twitching.
Okay, so this is where
So maybe 15 years.
maybe 15.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 is a bit too much.
What did I say? I said 55 and then 70. That's still rough, but like we're pushing it.
I think when you get to the 20 years, 20 plus years is hard because then you're getting into parent age. Right? A lot of people's parents are my mom, I think, is 26, 27 years older than me.
Yeah.
So if you're dating somebody who's 20 years older than you, you're practically dating a parent, like your parent.
Yes.
Somebody who was in your parents' generation.
That's a good point.
And I think
where
that's
it gets
just
awkward.
that's where it gets awkward.
Okay.
Again,
yeah.
When they're able to relate more to your mom and dad than they are to you, I think that's where you put where the red flag is.
Yeah. So maybe the max is 15.
Yeah.
15, 18.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people would actually like listen to this and take our law as
No,
law?
they're gonna do whatever they want.
Right?
They're gonna do whatever they want.
Which I mean, it's the right for them, and that's the whole point of our podcast is to say whatever is on our mind. But
you know, if they like it, I love it. As long as you are leaving the children alone.
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest issue with these age gaps is they feel predatory, especially the ones at the younger ages. It just feels predatory.
Yep.
That you're going after somebody young and naive who doesn't know better, and you rock the world.
Rock it.
Not in a good way.
But it's crazy because a lot of people do that on purpose. They do it on purpose because they're like, I want someone that I can
groom.
Yeah,
not
groom.
mold.
They don't say groom, but that's what they mean.
It's grooming.
It is grooming.
Disgusting.
Oh,
actually, do you know? This is so bad, but this reminds me of a story. You heard of that movie May December, right?
Yes.
It's based on a true story of a teacher. I think she was this guy's elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
Yes, and she started a relationship with him when he was in middle school or high school.
Yeah.
And ultimately convinced him that they were in love, got pregnant with his first kid. She went to jail for it, came back. And I don't know for a fact what he has said. I haven't watched the movie. I've just read the story. And I don't know if he's reached a stage yet where he's acknowledged that, yeah, she ruined his life. But there was a period where he was like, I need to be with her. Because there was a court order where it was just like, they can't be together. But as soon as he turned 18, he was like, I am in love with her. I want to raise our children together. When it's like, no, she literally manipulated you into believing that you were in love with her. No grown woman should be looking at an elementary school child and thinking that's my future husband.
Yep.
That's crazy. And while that's an extreme extent, I feel like that can be applied to people who are like the 18-year-olds who are with the 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because what do you have in common?
30-year-olds with the 20-year-old. Oh my God.
Oh, that reminds me. You sent me a study where it was looking at as women get older, the ages of the men that they would date. It's very heteronormative, but as women get older, what
they're attracted to.
And then for men. So the trend was that as women got older, the men that they were attracted to got older. Yeah. So it was just like, I think it was like a match. It was like a linear or whatever you do mathematics. Yeah. Whatever the trend is.
I'm going to get you in a math class one day because you'd be struggling.
I'm an engineer.
Yes.
Anyway. But what you showed me for the men was there was similar trend up until I think 26 or 25.
Yeah, somewhere in the 20s.
Somewhere in the 20s where it was like, okay, it's going. Then once it hits 20, it flatlined where every single guy from 25 up until like 60 something stated that they would be most excited to be dating a 22-year-old woman.
Whoo. Right? Run, girls, run.
Yes. And that there's so many topics that we can talk about when it comes to that trend in itself with relation to age gaps. We could talk about the way in which men, I think this was in America, men in America are more than willing to groom young, impressionable women into dating them, for one. We can bring into a conversation about the beauty standards for women, about how once you turn 22, you're no longer desired by men. Yeah. Which is crazy. And we could also talk about what is the phenomena that makes women believe that as they get older, they want older men, but men believe that as they get older, they want the same type of woman. There's just so much.
And I feel like at the root of all of that, it's media.
I can see that, yeah.
Because I feel like what we're sold by media is that if you see a old man with a young lady, that's normal. Like an old man dating a younger woman, normal.
That's so
Don't
crazy.
bat an eye.
No, what comes to my mind is he must have a lot of money and she's waiting for him to die.
Right? And so they say for men, most attractive thing you can do is have a bunch of money. And then for women, the most attractive thing you can do is be young. Ick. And not even like, because they be saying young, but they be meaning
Baby.
Fetus,
Practically.
actual baby.
Yeah. Because what is it? The average American can live up to like, let's just say 80. So by the time you're 22, you've only lived 1/4 of your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are in the final, like they're 3/4
final stages.
They're 3/4 through their lives.
Yeah. Yikes. And you know, from media, they don't, especially the media from the early 2000s that we grew up watching. I blame Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler, all these TV shows where it will be like the regular husband and he's like however he looks, and then smoking hot wife. And she's young.
Oh, there was a movie that made a commentary about that with what's it called? It was with Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, right? And it was how he was so shallow.
Yeah, Shallow Hal.
Was that what it is?
I love that movie.
Oh, see, I've only seen it on TikTok. I've seen clips. Anyway, I get the general premise. And
yes.
You know the way that TikTok works. I probably watched the entire movie.
You probably watched the whole movie.
But I think that's also a really good example because he was so shallow that he believed that he should be able to date whoever,
whatever,
right? But he was given 3 trying to date like 10 11s, right? But he had the audacity to look at women who would be like 8 9s being like, I can't.
No,
so
absolutely not.
That's true. They set that standard. And I wonder, are there movies nowadays that still perpetuate that? There has to be. Maybe not as much, but
that's a good question. I'm trying to dig back into my brain and find something that we watched recently. I feel like there's more critique on it.
Yeah.
More critique, and it's not really so blatant to where we're not even like you
don't really see it.
Yeah.
And I think with and I'm just saying this generally because I can't think of something specific, but I think you typically see more so it's a guy trying to get somebody who is really, really, really attractive, but they're giving nothing. They have nothing. They're basic and super shallow. And those like super attractive people always end up with someone that you would see, I guess you could say it's more objectively unattractive, but they have more to offer in the sense of personality.
And then,
right,
you know, I thought of an example. There's that new movie coming out called Baby Girl. It's coming out in December. That movie has an older woman and she is, I was going to say dating, but they're kind of banging. So whatever. They have a sub-dom relationship. Yes, with her intern. So that's a younger man. Yes. So I feel like you wouldn't see that commonly. Right. Oh, when we were younger. There was
it makes me so sad because I love both these actors, but a bad rom-com that I watched with Gabrielle Union and Keith Powers?
Yes.
Keith Powell? What's his last name?
I remember hearing about this. I think it's Powell.
Keith Powell. Sure.
I think
his initials are KP and hers are GU. But yeah.
Reading Rainbow.
Yep. But the whole premise was it was an older woman getting with a younger man. While I personally believe it falls into our predatory age gap because she was the same age as his mother. Yes. His mother and her went to school together. And they were rivals in the industry, right? But movies like that are happening more frequently. Yeah. There was another one with Anne Hathaway. And a musician. You're seeing more of those where it's the whole concept of like age knows no number, but the woman is older and the guys are younger, which is not something you've seen before.
You see, and I wonder if it's the thing where now people are calling out the male to younger woman relationships, that they're kind of going out of their way to show the women to younger, because even back when the case that you were talking about with that young man that was taken advantage of, that was a case that hoe didn't even go to jail like that.
She did.
She went to jail, but she wasn't thrown under the prison like she should have been, because she was a white woman with blonde hair.
Right. But that gets into a whole other conversation.
A whole other conversation. But I feel like a lot of times they don't treat the women with a young man the same way that they treat the older man with the younger woman. Because for the older man and the younger woman, they kind of just said like, oh, whatever. But now people are starting to call it out. With the older woman and the younger man, I feel like people just, it didn't happen, or they try to turn an eye to it. And so it wasn't a big deal. And now they're starting to push it.
I think it's the same thing with the older man to younger woman. I think the longer that you see something, the more you're able to analyze it.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to watch a movie over and over and over again, at some point you're going to be able to catch everything that was done, where it's like maybe the bystanders walking past and they trip, or, you know, you realize that it's the cut clip and the cup moves, right? You get more time to analyze it. And I think that's why people are more critical of an older man and younger woman, because they understand, and there's been more cases on how predatory that is. It's still predatory in the other way. But I feel like if we sat here, we'd be more capable of picking out older men and younger women relationships than the other way around that are problematic.
Yeah.
Because again, they're not as highlighted.
Yeah.
And even these new movies with Gabrielle Union and Anne Hathaway, these came out within the last like 2 years.
Yep.
There's still not a lot of content on it. It's still the same type of predatory, but it's not necessarily people turning to a blind eye. It's just so fresh and so new that nobody's really sat down and spent the time to be like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. I don't know about these age gaps. I'm scared.
I am scared too, but they're not going to go away. Because like you say, it's all about social media and what we see that is causing us to feel, causing us to feel like it's okay. And we're going to continue to see these examples. And I think the hope is that it's going to get normalized. Because again, either the more you see something, the more you're able to pick it apart, or the more you see something, the more comfortable you get with it.
Yeah. And then, you know, in the past, like, couple years, we've also seen some, like, old YouTubers that we used to watch when we were kids, or, like, our cohort watched when we were kids.
I love how you keep using cohort. Because it makes me think of academics.
I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
But
I
cohort.
think generation.
Yeah, but you know how we're
world.
in a weird, like, in-between.
Well, we're still considered in a generation.
It's called a micro generation.
They call us Zillennials. So that's still our generation.
Microgen. But in our generation, a bunch of YouTubers we used to watch when we were younger, it came out that some of them were reaching out to their underage fans.
That's where we start getting into power dynamics, bro.
The power dynamics on top of the age is really a thing. And then you also see this in workplaces too.
Yes.
And it's so weird. It's so weird. And it's always like, especially with the YouTubers, I was just shocked, because I'm like, dang, that could have been one of us if we were crazy. But
I don't even think it's necessarily crazy, because it's sometimes wrong place, wrong time. Because I feel like some of these people, all they're doing is engaging.
Yeah.
Because you could just say it's, for example, a band, Sleep Token, right?
Y'all see that? Come back to the USA.
But for example, Sleep Token, right? Also, this is coming off. If you went to their concert and you got seen in the crowd, I think that's where sometimes a lot of this engaging happened. Or somebody makes a comment. I will say there are situations that someone puts themselves in. No, I'm not going to say puts themselves in a position to be. Yeah, that's not what I'm trying. But in the sense that they're more visible. They're the head of a fan club. Yes, and they go and do interviews with them, so they're able to face to face. I think that's where you start seeing like faux relationships getting built. But sometimes it's just wrong place, wrong time in these situations where you went to a concert and they made eye contact with you at a concert and they're like, we like that one. they send a message to security, or they see you go to like the merch table. Because how cool would it be if somebody from Sleep Token came down and was like, hey, we saw you in the crowd, do you want a photo?
Yes.
You see what I mean?
And it's one thing
and I think that's where the abuse of power is, because when it comes to celebrities, there's an idolization that happens, right?
Yes.
You put these people on a pedestal. They're pretty much not what you think that they are. Because there's been so many times where I'd be watching something and I go and I look up this actor and I'm like, you're British? You know what I mean? And in my head, I thought you were some regular American person who was probably from the South because you had the accent for the show. Yeah. And you grew up in South London.
Oi, mate.
Right? So because of the idolization, that's what's being used against them. Yeah. And that's where a lot of these YouTubers become even more predators, because they're using that power of like, I know you love me and I'm giving you attention and making you feel special because no other person is ever going to get this attention with me like you're getting right now. And that's how they trap people. And
on top of that, I think about the fact that like predators can smell if you're like the type who's been abused before.
I didn't realize that was a thing until we talked about this in our Feeling Friendly episode, where I've had friends, like I've had continuous times where I've made friends that have done the same thing to me. And you said to me that like they can just tell that you're a nice person. Yeah. And people like to abuse nice people. Yep. But they can just tell. And I never really understood that when it came to like relationships. I still don't fully understand it because I don't do that.
Again, this is psychology. I feel like someone coming to you, right, and trying to do the same thing that someone did in the past to you, it's kind of like you are predisposed to it because you've been through that trauma before. And for some reason, humans are weird where we try to recreate our trauma. So you would be more likely and more open to going through that trauma again. And that other person can feel it because the way that you're interacting with them, you're telling them that, oh yeah, you'll do that. That's no big deal type thing. You're not doing it on purpose. It's like subconscious and something that just will happen over and over and over again until you address the cycle and you break it. But if someone did that with me and I have no history of that, I'm going to be looking at them like, oh, you better get away from me. Right. And they're going to sense that energy and be like,
and they'll run away.
Okay, well, I can't run game on her in their subconscious.
Okay. Psychology is so...
It's very weird.
And I think even if I understood it, it wouldn't even help me. I think I would just psychoanalyze myself all day.
You could know therapists are still crazy. You can know everything there is to know about psychology.
That's something that threw me. Was finding out that therapists still need therapists.
They still need therapists.
That blew me.
It makes sense.
No, it makes sense, because thinking that there is a human being that is just above all of their trauma. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I couldn't do it. But yeah, back to your point about the era that we're in. We could have a whole conversation about power dynamics, but I feel like that also kind of goes into age gaps, because when you have someone who's older than you, it is an inherent power dynamic. Yep. And it can be more easily seen when you're looking at hierarchy in work, looking at hierarchy with like fan versus celebrity. It's all generally a problem. But the main point that we're getting at is predators are not okay.
Yeah, I would not say that's okay.
It's not.
It's not.
It really isn't.
Yeah. So, I would hope that in the future age gaps get less common. Especially for younger.
I would say not less common, because I think age gaps are okay as long as they're within, because we by the time we said 30, we were saying people could have 10 plus years. Yeah. It's just we're more so talking about when you're in your
impressionable
20s, in your 20s, and even in your early 30s when you're impressionable period. Just stay away from age gaps. When your frontal lobe has cooked to the point that it's burnt,
you better
right? And you are more settled and established in your life, at that point, I think you could start looking to being with someone older. But if you're 20, I don't want you at 20 years old coming up to me and being like, my boyfriend's 32.
Jesus Christ. I'm fighting him. I'm fighting him.
I'm sending him to jail.
Yes.
I'm
what
sending
the
him
hell?
to jail. I do not care if you're a consenting adult. That's not okay.
And you know that 32 is a loser.
That's the other
32-year-old
thing
is a
too.
Loser.
When you see people, again, I never blame the person who's younger. I'm always looking at the person who was older. 22-year-old, you can think you're mature enough to date someone 30, but I'm going to look at the 30-year-old and be like, why are you with the 22-year-old?
What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with
weirdo?
you? What like memory are you trying to chase?
And also, I hate when people act like falling in love and all that stuff and dating people is like a just something you fall into as opposed to making a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's love, and being in love with somebody is a choice. It's all about you being willing to make compromises to make the relationship work. I personally believe that any relationship is set up for success if both people are willing and capable of making compromises to be able to make the situation healthy.
Yeah.
I think people, either their circumstances or them themselves, just something about it makes it so that they can't compromise or they choose not to compromise. Mm-hmm. And that's when relationships fail.
And there are those cases where it's you two are just not compatible.
Yeah.
And keep it pushing.
Yep.
If he's an abuser and you're an abusee, you guys are not compatible.
Keep it pushing.
But, keep it pushing. But yeah. So I don't know. All I know is it couldn't be me.
Okay. So before we end this podcast,
you got something to tell me?
I have to. Oh yeah. Let me unveil it to the entire podcast. Let me look at the camera.
My boyfriend is 85. You would shut this podcast down.
No, I would more so just tell you that I got an inheritance. I would never tell you that I was with someone who's 85. I would just wait till they were gone. And I'd be like, I came into some money, Chanel.
Extra salt in his diet.
Right. So I'm actually going to ask you the question that you asked me at the beginning of this podcast.
Ooh.
So
Oh
Chanel,
God.
would you date Pedro Pascal?
Wow. So here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I brought it up, like I said before, was because I was seeing it on TikTok a lot. Mm-hmm. And he seems like a genuinely nice guy.
He does.
He seems so nice.
He does.
And he just seems like he's vibing all
Right.
the time. And I'm like, that's some good energy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw how old he was and I was like, I
How
don't know
old
if
is
I can
he?
do that. I'm pretty sure, from my memory, and we know that's not, sometimes that's off. I think he's like 52.
Right. So I thought he was in his 50s.
Yeah, I think he's
That's
like
almost
52.
Well, okay. I was going to say, is that double our age? 26
Okay,
is 52.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
close to double our age.
Yeah. That's a little old. Because I'm like, my dad, he's like 56, 57.
So he's your dad's age.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It's a little
Actually,
rough.
that's another thing that I always think about as well, is when I think of an age gap, I'm like, what child can you put into that age gap? Right?
Exactly.
Because it's like, okay, so your age gap is a 2-year-old. That's a baby, right? Mm-hmm. Your age gap could be in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a
about
problem. So y'all's age gap would be, your age gap would be a kid who just graduated from graduate school. They would have their master's and they could potentially have their PhD. If not, they've been out of school for 3 to 4 years and they're probably up for promotion.
No.
Yeah. I feel like we're pretty similar. We're on the same page.
Same
with
wavelength.
If we weren't, I don't think we'd be doing this podcast anyway.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
We have to be weirdos in the same way.
The same type of weird. And I think we match each other's weird pretty well.
Is somebody gonna match my freak? Is somebody gonna match my freak?
Exactly.
All right, City. I think we laid down the law. Everybody needs to listen to us.
At the
That's
very
on
least,
period.
don't throw tomatoes at us.
I don't care. Throw
Yeah. The
tomatoes at
thing
me.
is, I want people to be safe, but it's your life and not mine.
It's your life. You like it. I love it.
I will never say that. If you like it, I could hate it, but
That's
it's
true.
still your
Unless
life.
It's illegal. We
don't condone illegal
at all.
But even still, if you like it, I could still hate it, and I'm gonna tell you I hate it, but you can keep doing what you want to do. I don't care.
You see, I feel like with the if you like it, I love it. In my head, I'm like, I had a conversation with you and I said, that's dumb. Don't do that. And then you said, but I like it. And I'm like, okay. If you like it, I love it. Good luck, girl.
Oh, it's like the kind of sarcastic.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
All righty. If I see you with an 85-year-old, I'm screaming and running away.
Again, if I'm ever with an 85-year-old, you will never know. I would have just come into money. I'm telling you this right now. If I'm ever with an 85-year-old, I'll disappear for a couple of years, but come back thousands of dollars richer. You'll be like,
we're thousands of dollars. Only thousands. Not even in your dreams. Over thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. How about that?
Okay, that sounds a little bit better.
Like hundreds of thousands, and I pick you up on my private jet, and we go to my castle in Scotland type rich.
Oh my God. But I'm down.
Yeah. But just know, if I ever disappear, I probably have an 85-year-old husband.
There will be signs.
There will be signs. Okay, I gotta go.
We gotta go. It's over.
Bye, Chanel.
Bye. Is someone knocking on my door? Hello? Open the door. Open the door. I'm filming a podcast right now. Goodbye.
Bye.
You want to say hi to the podcast?
No, thank you.
Okay, bye.